What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us just a little bit of your time. Boy, it's been a very eventful first four episodes. Can you believe, guys? We are already about to the halfway point of this season. It's like this WandaVision. Some of these things we've all gotten wrapped up in, they're just blowing right by, and there's so much of it. It's kind of crazy, but yeah, it's been quite a lot to take in so far, the first four episodes, and we're here to talk about all of it with tonight's crew, starting, of course, with my hetero life mate, Jared. What's up with you, my brother?
Not a whole lot. Like I said about a minute ago, I think it's adorable that we're almost wearing the same shirt. But as we find out in this episode, usually Frank has the natural smelling stuff, so I don't know. I don't know what your shirt smells like, but it probably smells better than mine. I worked all day, you know.
Right now, this entire studio smells like lavender. I've got this diffuser thing going to make Jennifer happy because she works right over there. But
yeah, that's good.
Also joining us, another great YouTuber, someone who I've been trying to find a chance to get on here for a while, and I'm so glad we finally made it happen. He allowed me to be on his show with him a while back when we broke down the film Children of Men. Had a great time over here talking to him, and that is my friend, the American Werewolf from New Jersey. What's going on, my man?
What's happening, man? Thanks for having me on. You know, it's a good thing. We were talking about this a little earlier. I think one of the advantages of the show is that it's got that weekly release, unlike the Netflix thing, you know, where everything just kind of drops at once and then you've forgotten about it a week later. You know, they're forcing you to, you know, to parse it out a little bit. And, I'm enjoying it that way.
Yeah, it's again. I hope Netflix figures it out. I think they're kind of leaning that way. I think that's why they broke up. And we talked about this when we were discussing the Stranger Things, the last season, how they broke up the last season, part 1 and part 2. I think that's them finally kind of coming to grips with the idea that that you need to break this up at least in blocks. I know that a couple of streaming services have done like 2 or 3 episodes at a time, and waited a week or two, then 2 or 3 episodes at a time. They need to get to that model soon. I think it's going to help them a lot. But I mean, everybody else seems to have figured it out. And the one thing that they've definitely figured out at HBO is the show. I seriously, it seems to get better and better every week. I feel like this episode, before I get too much into the plot, I feel like this episode was one of the ones like, hey, Jeremy, you and I have talked about some of the Marvel shows. They get to like that second to last or third to last episode, and it's not a whole lot of substance. It's just that one of those episodes that kind of puts for the final drive towards the end. That's a little bit of what I got from this, but not so much. There were still some pretty big things that happened in this, but I'll give you guys the breakdown real quick. Whenever it happened. Let's see. Episode 4 finds Joel and Ellie in Kansas City as they continue their journey west. But the city has new dangers in store for them as they now have to deal with. Not officially named that in the show, but that's who they are in the game anyway. Led by the quietly menacing Kathleen, played wonderfully by Melanie Linsky. While hiding out near a rooftop, this new threat they come across. They're actually looking for these kids named Henry and Sam, who they end up coming across in the at the very end of the episode in another very menacing way. But again, not a whole lot to this. Interesting action, a couple of good action pieces, another big character introduction, and let's start with Kathleen real quick. For one, I love Melanie Linsky. Everything I've seen her in has actually been very, very good. And I'll start with you, Werewolf. What did you think of the character? I picked the wrong one. What did you think of this character? I mean, she's not from the game, as Jeremy will probably attest to, but they did say, the writers and creators said they wanted to give this group a face, kind of a leader, so it wouldn't be so kind of scattered around. What did you think of her performance through, of course, this episode?
I thought it was a good performance. As I said, I'm coming from a perspective where, I don't know anything about the game. I'm not a gamer. So I'm just watching this, episode by episode and sort of not, judging the whole show. I'm just taking it 1 week at a time. She struck me as kind of a damaged person. I got that specific vibe from her. This was, one of those hurt people that just kind of, is stuck in that frame of mind. When I saw her having that conversation / interrogation with the doctor, you're not sure what a lot of the background is, or at least I'm not, because like I said, I'm not familiar with, Henry and Sam. But I think she might be. I think she's going to be a worthwhile antagonist in the coming weeks. I don't know how long she's going to remain, because this seems like a road series. So I don't know how long they're going to be stuck in one specific place to focus on these characters. But yeah, dangerous. She's pretty dangerous.
Jeremy, what about you? I mean, you're the one of the three of us on here right now. You're the one that has the experience with the game. She's not from the game. She was, like I said, she was put in there by the writers and creators to kind of give this group a face. Did taking away from the episode for you, or is it kind of an addition coming from your background?
It was kind of nice because, like they said at the end, the hunters are just kind of a group that's just kind of an obstacle in your way. You're trying to get through, and this one is Kansas City, but it was Pittsburgh. In the yeah, it's Pittsburgh in the game, and I think I was wrong about Bill and Frank. I'm like, I thought they maybe lived like kind of into Pennsylvania. Maybe they still were in like Massachusetts. And then you take the car and you end up there. And what you're trying to do is just get through the city, get to this bridge to get out of town. Because it does start the same way. They get, attacked by these people. They end up getting stuck. And they're just kind of they're just in your way. And like Troy Baker even said, this isn't a show about zombies necessarily. This is about people. So having it be a group that seems to have, not just be around every corner you're trying to sneak around. But the added layer of having somebody who's at least in charge of these people and also on their own mission of trying to figure out where Sam and Henry are, it added a whole other layer to it. Now, me personally, I don't know, but she did kind of give us like she just went in there and just shot the doctor for whatever reason, even though, her two people that got killed by Joel and Ellie. She was like, well, if I had a doctor, could I save them? They're like, no, you can't. And she just immediately turns around and shoots the doctor. I'm like, okay, but you have all of these people. Was he not? And you're still trying to find Henry. I'm like, I think you just shot not only him, but yourself in the foot just now. I'm like, that seemed like a dumb decision. I don't know. I get that we're like, oh, she's ruthless. I'm like, yeah, but when she talks like this, I need you to go find them right now and kill them all. I'm like, you don't scare me. You just seem kind of mousy. Now, the merc with the like slick back hair and the beard who looks like a badass, I could have believed he was the leader. Now, he's from the game because he is the guy who voiced Tommy in the video game, which I think was really cool. I could have believed he was the leader, but I mean, hey, if I had that guy stand next to me, I mean, no one would probably mess with me either. I don't know. But that was a cool addition to have the voice actor for Tommy as one of these people.
Yeah,
I had this.
The character of. No, go ahead. I don't know. Go ahead. You might be saying what I was going to say.
The character struck me as somebody who already had it's like one of those things where you already have the answer predetermined in her head. And so from there, it's just a matter of working backwards. It's like I don't know. It's an odd choice to have as the leader, but I mean, they seem to be taking her lead. And I think she is someone who won't be thinking rationally. This isn't a person who's going to be making rational decisions or anything like that. We've already seen that. It's already made up in her head. And we're already seeing, and I guess we'll get to that in a little bit, that she's already blowing off one major issue that's coming from underneath the floor. But she, tells that guy, forget it. We're just going to keep doing this other thing. And you're just like, okay, we'll let it play out, which I think I have some idea of how it is going to play out, but okay.
I'd like to know what Sam and Henry did that were so much more important than what I think is crawling underneath the floor.
her damage thing, I think, is going to be the priority. Her damage is the priority.
I suppose.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it makes sense that, human beings sort of find themselves in this situation that sometimes the people that kind of get thrust into leadership role don't necessarily relish it or don't want it or don't know how to do it. That might end up being something that happen in some groups. But I do find it kind of odd that it's this kind of quiet, unassuming woman who takes over as opposed to the obvious mercenary that was that guy, the character of Perry that Jeremy was talking about. It is kind of weird. But then again, maybe he didn't want to be leader for whatever reason. I'm sure we'll get some explanation as to why that power structure kind of out the way it did. But yeah, my concern is it's going to be another really good character that we just get enough of. It's like we talked about it last week. I was really kind of surprised that they made Bill a big part of the marketing, Nick Offerman's character, and if people got really excited to see him, and then he's in one episode and then he's gone, and with the exception of maybe some flashbacks, we're not going to see him again. So is this going to be another character that we get kind of endeared to, and then they just kind of take it away because Joel and Ellie are on the move? They're not going to be. Hopefully, they probably won't be hanging out in Kansas City for very long over the course of the rest of the season. But we don't really know what the future brings them yet. But one of the other interesting things that happened in this episode is that whole scene with Elle's first kill. It not being her first kill, of course. If you've seen the episode, you know what we're talking about. But they get into Kansas City. They deal with this ambush coming from these people, from the hunters. And while they manage to fight off the 2 or 3 guys that were there, Joe, somebody gets the drop on Joe, this younger kid who was there with that group, and Elle has to actually pull out the gun that she took from Bill and Frank's house and put a bullet in this guy to help save Joel's life. And for one, that I thought was brilliantly done. The fact that after she pulls the trigger, just sitting there being shocked about it, it's like, I think his name was I recall, but it focuses on him, and it kind of reminds us that one of the things that we're struggling to do as a society dealing with this whole whatever apocalypse thing is that we're trying to hold on to a little bit of humanity. And that's what that scene, it seems to be one scene in every episode where it reminds us of that. And this was the scene because he's there begging for his life. And Joel, I think, Elle probably feels bad for having to shoot him, but I think Joel also feels bad because he knows that there's not really any other outcome for them other than to kind of silence this guy for a couple of reasons. Number one, because you don't know how many people are out there. You don't want him to go back and tell his friends. Number two, dead people can't get infected, so you don't want him to get infected and have to deal with them later on. But that was a very interesting, very human moment for me, the way that was shot. It wasn't a typical action set piece at the end. It was something way more seen. Jeremy, what do you think of that scene where the guy died at the end after the whole shootout?
I think you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Yeah,
over there.
Yeah, I know. I'm getting a connection thing again for some reason. Haven't had to deal with that in a while. Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
I mean, I can ramble if you want me to, because I was gonna mention like it kind of, there wasn't like really. I'm gonna say there wasn't a whole lot in this episode, but I mean, to me, having played the game, like, oh no, I could tell you there's several beats in this episode that were like, oh, that's from the game. That's from the game. This is a cool thing from the game. That was one of the cool moments. And even I kind of predicted when she took the gun from Bill and Frank's, I was like, oh, okay, I think I know how this is going to play out. I'm like, we're going to have the scene, which actually took place in the hotel, which we briefly saw when the second episode when they were with Tess. You get separated in the hotel, and then like you play as Joel still. You're still trying to find your way back to Ellie, and you try to go up this ladder, and this guy kicks you back off the ladder. You fall back down. There's a puddle of water on the ground. This guy's like choking you. He's like trying to hold your head underwater. You see Joel drop his gun. He's like trying to like grab. He's panicking, trying to grab for it. You see a hand come into the water, grab the gun, and shoot the guy. And Joel like looks up, and then there's Ellie holding the gun, like shaking. And she's like, "Oh my god, I shot that guy." And she has to sit down. She's like, "Oh, I feel sick." And it's kind of the same moment. I was like, "Oh, she's gonna pull out that gun that he doesn't even know she has." And I thought it might be the same play out where she shoots this guy, and he still goes like, "Why didn't you just wait where I told you to?" And she's like, "Well, aren't you glad I didn't?" And then he's in the game. He says like, "Well, I'm lucky I didn't get my head blown off by a damn kid." And she's like, and then she kind of stands up for herself. She's like, "You know what? No, how about you just say, hey, thanks. I knew that wasn't easy, but thanks for saving my ass." He still just kind of blows her off. And I'm like, yikes. But then it turns around into one of my favorite scenes when he finally trusts her to give her the gun, which that is next. We did see that later. But for her to still go out there and you still see that emotion on her face, and also Joel, he's just like, oh crap. Like he didn't want, this 14-year-old girl to have to shoot this guy. And I'm assuming she shot him in the spine or something because he's panicking, like, I can't feel my legs, I can't move. But it's a weird moment to be like, well, she just saved me, but also, holy crap, she just had to shoot somebody. Something he does say you never get used to, but it's something you shouldn't have to do. But that's the world they live in now.
Yeah, Werewolf, I mean, you saw the scene. It was really the biggest action set piece of the entire episode. I mean, what did you think of that scene? Because there's a big change in Ellie in the moment. There's a big change in the way that Joe sees her. Some of your thoughts on that scene?
Being that I'm just coming in for episode 4, let me say real quick that I like what they've done with the Ellie character. I like the character a lot. She's not overbearing, and she doesn't know how to do everything. She comes across very much like a spunky, stupid kid. And almost once every episode, she does something really stupid. That either just gets repaired real quick, like when she was playing the piano in the water in the second episode, and the dead body just kind of comes floating up. I like that she's very much on the learning curve, being actually out into the world. As it applies to this, those people were clearly killers, and they were going to take whatever they could get from Joel and Ellie and kill them. And so I didn't have a problem that they got put down. I liked the way that the scene was portrayed, in that she struggled and she hesitated, and rightly so, but she did what she had to do. I think it was handled well. I like that in this episode we've kind of gotten back into world building and working on the relationship between Joel and Ellie. I don't know if playing it out the way that it played in the video game, where he's still, kind of on her case. Well, I almost got my head blown off by a kid. I don't know if like a television audience would have the patience for that, or just like a bunch of normies who wouldn't have the, the frame of reference from the video game. So I like that they're sort of settling into, a comfortability with each other, and that sort of thing. But I didn't have a problem with it. Like we were talking about earlier, Gorephobe and I were talking about it earlier. I like that he actually transitioned over to a knife to kill that guy. I thought it was a good scene. That's kind of why I'm watching it, for action and, to see, the apocalyptic world, and you're getting your first real look at people rather than the mushroom heads. And maybe that the people are actually worse. And so, clearly, the minute they, roll past these people, they're trying to kill them. They don't even know who they are, but, we're going to take your shit and kill you. So, they got it first.
And that does happen in the game sometimes. I think I did it.
Yeah, scene did lead to. No, go ahead.
Okay. This lag is going to be the death of us all. I was just gonna say that does happen in the game too. I was in a fight. I think it was the last guy, and I think I missed. I went to shoot him, and I think I kneecapped him, and he fell down. And then it's like he looks up, and he's like, "Hey, it's over. It's cool. Hey, please don't kill me." And I'm like, "No,
no, it's not cool. We're not cool."
Yeah, you just came at me, man. I get it. I know it's a game, like whatever, but it's funny because one of that last guy will start to like panic and be like, "Hey, look, man, you just let me go. It's fine." And I'm like, "No, dude." I shot him left from there.
Not fun. Not
cool. But it does bring out something that I was really excited about. As soon as she turned around, put her pack down, and she opened up the book, I'm like, "Oh my god, it's the joke book." Yes. She does that every once in a while. Like there was a fight I went through, and then she was like, "Well, I need to lighten the mood." She pulls out the book, and every once in a while, she'll just pull out the book and start doing these really dumb puns. And it is kind of the same thing. Joel's just like, "Really? That's awful. Really?" She's like, "You're awful. Whatever." And then she'll close it up, and then you just go on your merry way.
I don't think we're going to see and maybe we're wrong here, but I mean, like, we haven't really seen Joel do any processing of grief for the loss of Tess. Like, you can see him start to vent in the beginning of the third episode, and Ellie just kind of says, "Look, this isn't my fault. Like, you brought me out here to trade me for a car battery,
right?
You know, don't do that." Maybe she could have seen it coming. You know, that look on his face, like don't do it. You know, like, none of this was my idea. And instead they seem to, you know, just be sort of settling into, you know, rapport building with each other, which I'm okay with. I'm okay with. You know, you don't need, you know, to take 7 episodes before, you know, they start to make the turn a little bit. This is okay.
Yeah. Also, it led to one of the 2 really big bonding moments in this episode, where he kind of understands that, you know, he probably can't move forward not having her, at least with the ability to try to get his back. So he not only lets her keep the gun, but he gives her the pointers on how to use it. That was a pretty important moment for Joe, because that's one of the things that he had been fighting for the first several episodes. Werewolf, what did you think of that? Basically the bonding that happens, because there's more bonding that happens between these 2 characters in this episode really than in all the 3 combined prior to this. I mean, what do you think of those 2, about the bonding that went on between the 2 of them?
I thought it was good. I think he needs her now. Tessa's gone. You know, and that simple scene where they're camping together, and she's like, "No one's going to sneak up on us, right?" And he's like, "No one's going to sneak up on us." But you can tell it hadn't occurred to him. Like, he was getting ready to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden, you know, he finds out, you know, shit, I better stay up. One of us is staying up here tonight. And it can't be her because she's just a kid. You know, somebody has to be the grown-up here. And guess what? You know, it's going to be me. But, yeah, you know, that would probably have been something that he and Tess could have split. You know, you take 2 hours, or, you know, half the night, and I'll take the other half, so on and so forth. But Tess is no longer there. So, you know, they kind of need each other. And, you know, as much as is possible. I mean, what is she playing? 14 or 16 or something like
14.
that?
14.
Yeah. You know, you know, he's giving her a little bit of weight to carry. You know, and she's kind of proven herself. She doesn't know how to do everything either, which is, like I said, something that I appreciate. We're seeing that she's, you know, actively learning as she goes. But yeah, I think it's working out well so far. I'm taking this episode by episode, and, you know, we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting, because it is that kind of crack in the emotional armor that Joel has been trying to maintain throughout the course of this series to this point. But another interesting thing that happened in this episode is the foreshadowing of, I mean, look, the clickers got all the press during the initial buildup of the marketing for this, but it's the bloaters, as they're called in the game, that got kind of teased when they were looking at that cracked up cement floor that was starting to pulsate, which was a very weird thing to see.
Man,
I don't know, Jeremy, you're the video game expert. I mean, what kind of stuff are we in store for these bloaters once they finally break through and start wreaking havoc on the surface world?
Well, as the great Samuel Jackson said once, you better hold on to your butts, because those things are they're no joke. I kind of was confused the first time I saw this, and I'm like, what is this? Is there a sinkhole? Is the building collapsing? What's going on with this room where this, and then the ground kind of like rippled. I was like, what in the hell? I don't know why I didn't think of it. And then I was like, wait a minute. There's like that scene of like something's on fire, and then you can see this real big infected come out of the ground. I was like, oh, it's a bloater. And I'm like, oh crap, it's like underneath this building or something, like, because we've seen other infected and whatnot on the ground, and the cordyceps kind of growing up into them. I mean, just like a fungus does, right? It's growing underneath the building, and something that sits there for that long, that's probably one of the hardest things to face, because if you figure how the clickers' heads, they're pretty, I guess, armored in a way, right? It's overgrown their entire head, and they're pretty hard to kill, as we've seen when Joel tried to shoot him in the museum. It took a few shots, and it's a task. Now imagine that, but it's a 2 2 times the size, and its whole body is kind of basically armored because it's just completely overgrown on this, I guess, shell of a person. Yeah, this is basically your juggernaut tank of an infected. That, I mean, I already said I would not want to deal with this kind of apocalypse. I can do Walking Dead. I think we're watching through Walking Dead again. I had to like realize, oh my god, I can breathe, because these guys just stumble around. They're not chasing me and having, you know, armored out heads and bodies. Like that I could handle Walking Dead, but this, oh my god, I would not want to do it. No. First time you see one, it is a holy shit moment in the game. It's actually when you're with Bill, trying to find the car battery, and you go to a high school which had like a center set up for buses to be taken from different areas, and like it's a kind of like a hub for people getting help. And then it comes out of the gym, and it's like it throws stuff at you, and like spore bombs and crap, and it's a lot of resources to dump into it. But you know, throw some bombs, some Molotovs, and keep your shotgun handy, because you're in for a fight. I'll be interested to see when it actually comes out of the ground.
Yeah, I thought that scene was pretty interesting, and again, it does show kind of Kathleen's. Her leadership skills are probably not all there. Again, she was probably thrust in the role, like, you know, most human beings were thrust into the chaos of this whole thing. Yeah. But that could be something that comes back to bite her in the ass in the next couple of episodes. Probably the next one. I imagine the next episode is when we're gonna see whatever that is coming out of the ground. There is some stuff in the initial marketing actually where it shows the bloater coming out, like Jeremy said, with the fire behind him. I have a feeling that's the scene we're gonna get when they finally come out of the sewer, and that's gonna be a pretty badass scene. The other thing alluded to, talked about a lot by Kathleen, is she's after someone really, really hard called Henry. Now, it has not explained in the show yet, but these are characters who are from the game, right, Jeremy?
Yes, sir.
So what are their significance in the game, and how do you think, and why do you think that she's after them in the show? Do you think it's the same reason, or is it something different?
Yeah, see, that's where it kind of diverted a little bit, because you do, I'm glad we did see it. It is a terrifying scene. We saw that car come out, had the big scoop on the front. They had a run spray painted across the front. That does happen in the game. And again, the hunters are just there to kind of be in your way and be annoying. You do see a scene where these people are just ruthless. They just chase people down in the street, shoot them. You watch it like you're behind a covered like door, and you're watching through the cracks. They just shoot like this guy and girl down the street. The girl didn't die. They walk up to her and they just execute her in the street. And they look at her. He's like, "Well, old pair of shoes, nothing. Damn it, whole lot of nothing." They just get in the truck and they leave. And we're like, wow, what the hell? I mean, Ellie's like, well, what the hell? And Joel's like, we couldn't have done anything. She's like, I know, but still. And it's like, oh, now you see what people are like. So it is the same kind of, you know, now we're seeing how people can be. And that truck does chase you, and it is absolutely terrifying because it's got like a big 50 mounted on it, and they chase you down. But you run into you just kind of run into Henry and Sam in a building. Like you go up a few floors and like you're kind of shimmying along the roof. You go into a window, and I think Henry just grabs Joel by the neck, just kind of attacks him, and they get into a little tussle. And then he sees Ellie. Ellie tries to jump in. She like tries to go to attack him, and he like punches her away. Then he stops because he's like, "What the hell?" And then Joel takes him to the ground, and kind of like we saw with the soldier, he starts beating his face in. And Ellie's screaming at Joel to stop because she says, "Look." And then there's Sam like holding a gun to him. And he's like, hey, back up, son. Hold on. And there's a great line from Henry. He's like, damn, dude, you hit hard. And Joel's like, well, I was trying to kill you. Like, but he says, I stopped because I noticed her. And if you notice, these people don't keep kids around. So he's like, I know you're not one of them. So I'm like, oh, so they're just kind of in the same situation too, just trying to get out of this town that's been taken over by these people who apparently took over the QZ. And, kicked all them out or lined them up in the street and shot them, which I think we did see somewhere in the game. Strung a couple of them up on the light posts. And they're just trying to get to somewhere, too, because Sam says, hey, we had people that we're trying to meet up with on outside of town. And, well, guess where we're going? Outside of town. And we both know the Fireflies. So we're like, well, we kind of have a mutual goal here. to get out of town, and they're trying to find their people, and we're trying to get to Tommy. So I don't know what Henry did to piss this lady off, but I'm kind of interested to see how that unfolds. So they got.
Is there something that he did in the game? Is there something that he did in the game? Could that possibly be what ends up transitioning, like a story point that transitions to the show?
I don't know, because there's nothing. Like I said, they're just kind of in the same boat as Joel and Ellie. They're like, oh, we happened upon this town who is basically taken control of by this military, well, not military, but revolutionary kind of group who just kind of rule under their own little jurisdiction.
It's like a militia.
Yeah, like they took over and now they're in charge. I'm trying to think of what that line is from Blood Diamond, where he's like, well, military just wants to stay in power, and then the rebels aren't sure they want to take over because then they'd have to govern this mess. I'm like, yeah, so it's win some, lose some. No one's really any better than anyone else here. You're just trying to get to the bridge. That's, to get out of town. They're trying to get to a tower to find their people. And then Joel and Ellie are just trying to get through town because, these guys wrecked their car. So I don't know. I don't think they know them at all. They're just kind of trying to stay under their radar as well, the Hunter's radar, just like Joel and Ellie are.
Well, let me run this by you real quick, Werewolf. They focus a lot on Kathleen's brother when you first see her in the in this episode. Do you think that maybe Henry and or Sam had something to do with the death of her brother? Because she has a real hard on to find this guy. It's so much so that it's clouding her judgment. Do you think that could be a possibility?
Yeah, absolutely. They may have even killed him. I have the distinct impression, though, that her brother, her brother is probably not, some innocent lamb. So, it's probably connected with the death somehow. And if it isn't, she isn't going to want to hear otherwise. I think that in the coming episode, we're going to see this sort of tunnel vision that she has probably lead to a lot of unnecessary trouble. And her unwillingness to see, what's coming up out of the ground and just kind of being stuck on Sam and Henry. It's going to be a problem. I don't think she's going to prove to be a particularly capable leader. But we do see that she is capable of just cold-blooded murder because she just shoots that doctor for really no reason other than the fact that she clearly wanted to from the get-go. Yeah. She wanted to kill him. So, something with her mood changed, and so she just went back and shot him. So, that tells you, or told me, what type of leader she is, which isn't a very good one. And, even that Merc guy that was all kitted out, I mean, he wasn't going around, murdering people. Although, if they're part of that group that was attacking Joel and Ellie, then, clearly he's probably not above it either.
She's kind of got like
I wonder. Well, no, I just wonder if it's possible that maybe her brother was the leader of these hunters.
I was going to say, that's my prediction.
Maybe, yeah. And then maybe Henry turned on him or killed him or something like that. And then she got kind of thrust into the leadership role because of her, because of her proximity to her brother. And maybe that's why she's the one in charge. And
that makes
her main course of action. Yeah, her main course of action right now, she's kind of got bloodlust to go to find this guy. Because whether through accident or on purpose, he had something to do with the death of her brother. So that's a possibility. I don't know.
Yeah, that's
again. What is? But again, I mean, is there any correlation to the game in this, Jeremy, that could give us an idea as to exactly why she's after him? Are the hunters in the video game after Sam, or are they just two kind of separate entities that end up kind of crossing paths in the game?
No, like I said, I think it is just a. They happen to, like I said, they also just happen to be in this town and trying to get back to their own people too. Because I think the first thing you see in the first interaction is Sam says like, "Oh, they're dead" or something like that, and Henry stops him. He's like, "Hey, we don't know that. Like, we don't know if they are dead or not, but we got a time and a rendezvous to meet up with our people, and like our window is tonight." So, when Joel and Ellie meet them, they said, well, this is our window for all of us to get out of this town. It's just, wrong place, wrong time. Because I like that scene where they stop the car and Ellie says, like, holy crap, is that the QZ? And you can set, she's like, well, where are all the soldiers? I'm like, yeah, they're gone and they're dead. Because these people who I assume lived there, I guess just rose up and then ended up taking over the town as well, not just the QZ itself.
We may find out that Boston was one of the more well-managed places, the place that they actually left.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing, you know.
The shinier of the two turds, I guess. That's at least they still had, you know, some structure and some kind of, I like that that's how it starts out. It's like, oh, even after all this, at least they have some kind of currency, some kind of job to do still, and keeping everything in line.
Some semblance of security, but then you still had another group that said that they were fascists.
Yeah.
You're not Democrats. You're like, it's 20 years into the fucking apocalypse, you dumb fuck. You know? Shut the fuck up. We're 20 years into the fucking zombie apocalypse, and you want to fucking do what? Ballot boxes? Assholes. Even in the apocalypse, there's going to be some whiny fucking asshole, you know, who says that they can do it better. Fucking douche nozzles, man.
There was that guy in the Boston QZ that hilariously was wearing that, like, oh shit!
I think it was like a Gore Lieberman shirt or something like that.
Yeah, Gore Lieberman shirt. And I was like, damn it! There it is.
Oh Jesus!
There it is.
Oh yeah,
like,
there we go.
Like, that white shirt looks a little too clean after 20 years. I'm like, you held on to that, didn't you?
I was like, never. Well, I got to thinking about it. This takes place like around now, like 2023.
2023.
And I'm like, good God, that election was 20-something years ago. Where the hell would you even find that shirt?
I don't know.
It's hard to find now, and we have the luxury of the internet to find it.
that fucker hasn't done a day of work in his life. I swear to God, somehow he's managed.
That shirt was too clean.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a barista or something, you know, and somehow
You know what it would have been. I mean, that is the hilarious joke that I realized they were talking, because we were talking about the scene from like the 60s. They're like, oh, what if the Earth got warmer and then now it could survive in humans? I'm like, oh, haha, Al Gore's having a laugh now, isn't he?
Yeah,
that's your inconvenient truth right there.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they had the Gore Lieberman shirt on that guy.
I think so. I think that was the reason. But I was like, because if you did it now, the game took place. It started in 2013, and then takes place in 2023. I'm like, oh, that guy'd be wearing an Obama Biden shirt. That's what it'd be doing. Like, it'd be the same joke. I don't know.
It did start out on the nose, that first episode where they start talking about viruses, and I'm like, really? And they, really? But then, the guy that was on like the Dick Cavett show or whatever it was, he switched over real quick to the fungus, and I'm just like, and then they start with the global warming. I'm like, well, if it gets warmer, I'm like, oh God. But they only stuck on it for a couple of minutes. Yeah, but at least once per episode, there's something, that's in there, and you're just like, okay, it's Hollywood, so, so be it. You're never gonna,
They're gonna preach. It's what they do. But there's a couple of fun Easter eggs for people like Jeremy. We actually got the book. The
yes,
book
we did.
That is a direct connection to the video game, rather. I don't know, Jeremy as the gamer. I mean, I thought it was fun. Again, it was kind of like what Werewolf said about her kind of just always being a kid. She has these moments in every episode where you're reminded that she is a naive 13 or 14-year-old. That she's not John Connor. She's not this hardened kid that was designed to deal with the apocalypse. She's just kind of along for the ride like the rest of us in the end. Yeah. That added a little bit of humanity, and it did help with the little bit of bonding kind of here and there. Yeah, a little bit of comic relief that every one of these episodes needs. I don't know. As the gamer, Jeremy, how cool was it to get that Easter egg?
That was pretty awesome. Like, he's sitting there trying to siphon the gas, and then he's like, just don't wander anywhere. Just stay here. And she's like, fine. You brought this on yourself. Puts the bag down. I'm like, what's she doing? And then I started turning around and flip a book open. I'm like, no, it's the joke book. Yes. I'm like, good, because now she's gonna annoy the ever living shit out of him. With it. I think right before that moment in the game, she like starts whistling, and she's like, "Ooh, I can whistle now." And he's like, "Oh, good. That's something else you can annoy me with." I'm like, God damn it. I hope it reoccurs every once in a while, because it's a fun little thing. Every time you stop and have a tense moment in the game, she just like, all right, you got some more. Here we go.
it'll be good for levity. It'll break it up, just these small little things here and there, and it should work. It should work.
And I like that it was the thing that got like, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but it's like she keeps doing this to Joel, and it's just funny. She's like, "Can I ask you a serious question?" He's like, "Yeah," and she goes right into a damn joke, and he's like, "Really? What the hell?" But you finally see it. It just kind of wears him down. She finally gets him the crack and gets him to smile. So it's nice to see him finally. He's still trying to get that tough guy facade off, and just kind of let his walls down a little bit.
And I'm coming from a perspective where I'm going through a little bit of Pedro Pascal fatigue. I just kind of am. But this is actually working for me. Like I kind of forget that it's Pedro Pascal. So I'm just like, so I consider that to be, a sign of good writing, and good performance by him. Because I remember him, when the first time I saw him in Game of Thrones, where he was Oberyn Martell, and I love that character, that Dornishman, where the guy who fights the mountain. But and then it just seemed like right up until this point, it just seemed like every time you turned around, you saw Pedro Pascal again. I'm like, fuck again. Jesus Christ. It's like a Benedict Cumberbatch from like 3 years ago, everywhere. He was just fucking everywhere. If he had like showed up in my fucking yard, I'm like, holy shit, you're reading my electric meter now too, you fuck, don't but like this, for some reason, he's in it. And I don't seem to mind. Maybe it's because he's playing someone who's a little bit older, like, when they go up 45 flights, and he gets to 30, he gets to 33, and he's like, I'm 56 years old. Like, leave me the fuck alone, like, this is as good as it gets, So he's not playing the Superman. I like that, like, at least so far, no one is playing the Superman or the Supergirl. Everybody's just kind of, interdependent on everybody else. So, clearly he's the lead, and she's the lead, but nobody can do everything. There's no apocalypse Jesus here.
Yeah, I am having no Pedro Pascal fatigue. I love him in this. I love him in Mandalorian.
I love the man. I'm sorry.
I even liked him in Wonder Woman 84. He was probably one of the better parts of that entire film. I didn't hate the movie the way a lot of people did, but it's like he is definitely a standout even in that, and a movie that a lot of people didn't like. And he's got good range. He plays very different characters in a lot of different stuff.
I couldn't get through the mall scene of that. I remember it's like the first 10 minutes. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit, I'm not watching this. And like I said, I would come back to it, and I just never did.
Spectacular.
I never got it again. Yeah. I want to like it, I love. I mean, I've got all my, my DCs back there. I love the first one.
The first one's amazing.
Yeah. But Patty Jenkins, I think she wasn't the sole writer of the first one. It was still heavily influenced, I think, by some. I can't remember if it was Snyder influences.
I don't think she
whoever
was either.
It was.
No, but Snyder.
I don't think she was either.
She completely wrote the second one, and so
there were some holes in that movie for sure. But text in the chat brings up the Mario film with Pedro Pascal they did on SNL.
I would rather have that.
That was funny as hell.
I was dying. That was really well done. I'd rather have that than Chris Pratt.
Werewolf, I don't know if you had a chance to see this, but when you get a chance to go to YouTube, and it's I am somebody who's been on Saturday Night Live for a long time now. I don't think it's been good since probably the early 90s. But I mean, I've seen a couple of skits that they had Pedro Pascal on there last weekend, and they were all hilarious.
I've seen it in my Twitter feed. I haven't gotten around to watching them.
Okay. I'll watch the Mario one.
They're really, really funny.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, one more thing I want to talk about before we go into a little bit more of the open discussion is she makes it very clear, Ellie does, that this is not the first time she's had to kill somebody, and it never really gets answered. I mean, he asked the question, but she said she doesn't want to talk about it. Yeah. So I mean, Jeremy, that she's got a friend that she's already mentioned it in the show before, but we're going to be seeing at least, I'm guessing now in flashbacks. I mean, and I forget the name of the friend off the top of my head, but is this the friend that Riley, that's it. Could she be talking about this friend that at some point she had to kill Riley either for survival, or maybe Riley got bit and infected? I mean, that could be it, or is it going to be something else?
Yeah, because when we went through and looked at the names of the episodes that are upcoming, one of them said Left Behind, and I'm like, oh, that's exactly the title of the DLC of the game, which is the little snippet you play of Ellie when her and her friend Riley snuck into the mall, and two walk in, one comes out. So,
It's a
and
mall.
she didn't.
What happens?
Yeah, we gotta do the classic, mall and there's zombies and crap. Thanks, Romero, but it'll pay a little bit of homage to it. I'm assuming the Left Behind episode is going to be that flashback of the DLC, because at that point you gotta remember Ellie doesn't know she's immune, so her and her friend Riley sneak in there, and and again, like we said, they're kids. They're just in there having fun. I think like you play a game of or you go around with like squirt guns and you have like a little mini like water gun fight. I'm assuming we're going to see the Mortal Kombat arcade machine come back, because she does play that, and that's who she mentions. Oh, my friend knew all about this game, and like, yeah, you can rip somebody's spine out with their head still attached, So yeah, you have like a fun day. You do like a photo booth thing, and then they have a hilarious joke where after the photos develop, it says you want to upload to Facebook. She's like, "What's Facebook? What the hell is even that?" I'm like, "Oh, god damn it! We're just hitting the punches, aren't we?" But of course, you can't have a nice day at the mall and without it being ruined by some infected. And that takes a turn for the worse. And she does say that, they both get bit, and they are just like, well, I guess we just wait and let's just lose our minds together. And it's supposed to be a real sweet moment. I mean, they even, like I said, this is no shock to anyone. Like, we know Ellie is at least a lesbian, I'm sure. But again, it's like they're having a fun day. They have a nice kiss. They have a moment. And then, of course, it all goes to shit real fast. And they're left sitting there in the mall. And like, I know Ellie freaks out. She's like seeing her arm bit and her friends now bit. And yeah, Riley died. And I'm pretty sure Ellie was the one that had to put her down, which is why she asked Joel, is it hard knowing that they were people once? Because she knows it's, her friend Riley was, now she's I almost said a walker. I need to stop. Walking Dead's encroaching into my head. She says like, oh, even though it's not her anymore, it was at one point. So I'm assuming that's what that was. Because then, there's a heartbreak. I will say in the game, there's a heartbreaking line that she said. She's like, look, I was bit and I'm still waiting my turn. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Yeah, Riley didn't make it.
I imagine that's probably going to be a full episode.
Probably.
And probably somewhere around episode 8 if they get to it this season.
Yeah.
It'll be another vignette episode where you're like, okay, and then they'll bring you right to the cliffhanger wherever, whether or not they make it to Wyoming or, wherever they choose to end it this season. But yeah, I imagine that won't be some quick little flash in the pan. That will be a full episode.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. That sounds about right. I mean, if not a full episode, certainly a good portion of one that leads into something that happens to them in the modern day later on in the episode. But yeah, there's definitely a lot to explore there, and I don't think you can explore it in like a 4 or 5 minute opening sequence. I think that's something that I think we deserve to see her character go through that progression, the way that we saw Bill and Frank go through their progression of their time on the show. Because I mean, again, this show has been so character driven. It's been so amazing the character work that is done here. To not explore that the way that you explored it with those two characters in episode 3, I think would be a big disgrace.
I'd like to. I mean, this is just my opinion, but to me, the best scene that I've seen in the 4 episodes so far was the second episode in Jakarta. Where the military comes in and takes that one doctor, and it's a quick 5-minute scene, but it's so well done, and it creeped the living shit out of me. Where she tells that general, because I lived in Jakarta. I lived in Jakarta for 2 years, so maybe that hit me, kind of personally, and I was like, oh shit, we're back in Jakarta, and like the hair on my arm was standing up. And, when she told that general to start bombing, just start killing everybody now. And, he's just got this horrified look on his face. And we understand as the audience that it's already too late. But just to have this quick 5-minute vignette that was just so powerful for characters that we never saw again and probably never will. It was something. It was something. So
yeah, but now I want to open it up to you guys as we. Okay. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was just saying, if you could do short, little tiny things like that. They shouldn't do it with Ellie. She's, the co-star of the show. But that you could have these, 5-minute things interspersed throughout. I don't know if they will again, but it wouldn't hurt if they did, if they were of that quality. If we get to episode 6 and then just for 5 minutes, they, jump into this small little, thing, that takes place in this place. And then, just keep kind of shuffling them around. So you just sort of break out of the, the monotony, and, maybe that's a poor choice of words because it's a good show. That would be good. That would be very good.
I think we're going to see, obviously, because I think somewhere in one of those little after credits things, they mentioned with Bill and Frank, it's like the way the apocalypse does things to people and how people handle it just out of love. They're like, Bill and Frank's story was this is probably the most pure version of it. It's like these two guys found each other and then they finally got to live their lives out at the end of the world, of all times and places. I'm thinking this is also going to be one of those things like between Ellie and Riley. It's like, oh, well, these two like each other, but theirs took a turn that one of them survived and one didn't. And if it's not obvious, something's going to happen between, with Joel and Ellie that, Joel cares about her and, vice versa. She also cares very much for him. There's going to be some things that are out of the character that they have for one another. That's going to have, they're going to have actions and there's going to be consequences for it. And the same thing, that's why I'm excited about Sam and Henry. Because again, these two guys are brothers. It's the same thing. There's going to be something that happens that I'm not going to ruin it, but it's going to be hard. They're all different in their own right, but my God.
Yeah, but now I want to kind of open the floor up to you guys. Werewolf, I'll start with you. Is there anything else about this episode that we haven't touched on yet that you think we should explore a little more?
Let's see. Hold on. I took some notes here, but my phone shut.
Hey, guy after my own heart. He took some notes.
Yeah. I have a Google Doc thing, so I just can kind of run it off my phone afterwards.
I started a trend.
Yeah, it's right here. Every episode. Okay, well, yeah. So Frank's doing it with the legal pads. That works too.
Well, you bet Nicole Brown started it. My bad. Credit where credit's due. My bad.
Well, I'm a little curious. They started to give a little more background on Tommy. And so I'm curious as to what's going to happen when they hit Wyoming. We saw Tommy in the beginning of the first episode, in that first 30-minute segue, as we watched the day of as it occurred, the day of the apocalypse, the day that it kicked off. And you got the impression that he was reasonably responsible, although he was working for his brother. And you got the impression that maybe he was a little financially dependent on his brother for, a living, this, that, and the other. But, I'm curious as to, how the show is going to portray him. He's become a Firefly now. So, you get the impression that Joel is sort of the responsible big brother, that kind of thing. So, I'm curious about that. Maybe that's kind of
I can tell you what happened.
I want to just see.
I won't say it.
But then, of course, there was also the joke where they find the gay porn magazine, and I heard that was a carryover from the video game. Why are the pages sticking together? Yeah. This kind of thing. So I got a chuckle out of that because I have a microscopic amount of knowledge from the video game. But this. We're 4 episodes in, and I'm surprised they haven't gone to Wyoming to show us a little bit of Tommy just yet. We're not there yet. This coming week we're going to be past the halfway point. So we're at episode 5. So I'm curious if we're going to see him at all this season. How long are we going to stay in Kansas City? It seems like this could be next week will be the end of the Kansas City storyline. And then is this just, I think, Frank, you were saying this, is this just going to be a series of characters who last for an episode or two because they're constantly on the road? No one is stationary. Whereas, with like The Walking Dead, they were, making communities, this sort of thing. They weren't moving around that much. So, you could start to develop these characters over a longer period of time. This doesn't have that feel, because they're looking to leave again. They weren't looking to stay. So, these may not be characters that we get to see expand over seasons. It could be just 2 or 3 episodes here, 1 episode there, this kind of thing. That's what we've seen so far.
The one thing to remember is that they've already greenlit a season 2. So they don't necessarily, now I'm sure that this season was already complete anyway, but they don't have to feel like they're in a rush to get this entire thing out in one season. They could set up story elements in this season that will carry over to next year. So there's going to be questions that are asked over the course of these 9 episodes that aren't going to get answered right away. That they're going to be things that will help set up the storyline for season 2. So we could see this Kathleen. We could see her again in the long term. We could see what's his name? Not Pike. Why do I want to call him Pike? Pierce. Perry. That's the one. That guy. I don't know. I knew it was B somewhere. We could see him somewhere down the line. That's something I think is kind of cool. Again, I'm just but I don't know, Jeremy. Something about this episode that we haven't touched on yet that you find interesting.
I was gonna say I'm glad he mentioned the magazine because it is kind of hilarious. It's another one of those where you see them start to have a little back and forth, and she even she's like, "I'm just fucking with you, dude." Smacks him and see ya, and throws it out the window. It's kind of funny because again, we didn't see Bill die in the game,
which is the shot very reminiscent of the game.
Like I said, that's another one of those beats. It's the same dialogue, it's the same framing, same everything. It was hilarious. The only difference is, she stole it. Well, I guess she technically still stole it from Bill, but we didn't see Bill die in the game. So he, you go down there and she's touching through magazines, and he goes, "Hey, what did I say to you when we came down here? Don't touch shit." And she's like, "I was just fixing your stupid pile." He's like, "Stop touching my shit." And she just flips them off. I'm like, see, we never got these interactions that I wish we would have seen. Bill and Ellie are just at each other, and it's so damn funny. So you find out later when you're finally leaving, and she looks around. She's like, "Well, I found this. Making nostalgic." Gives him the cassette, and same thing. He's like, "That's before my time. But that's better than nothing." And then she's like, "Oh, and I bet your friend's gonna miss this tonight." And she pulls it out, and he's like, "Ellie, really? That's not for kids. Come on." She's like, "No, hold on. I want to see what this is all about." That was so damn funny because you can see him shaking his head. So God damn it, why did you take that from Bill? Just stop pestering this man. I'm like we've said, it is just basically a long road trip from Boston to Wyoming, and unfortunately, some of these characters don't stick around for long. You don't really get to. I guess I don't want to say too much what happens.
I know a little bit just from watching some larger streams, where people are playing the games and they just blurt it out. I haven't been trying to I've been trying to avoid spoilers, but you can't. It's the internet. So
yeah, I know. It's I can say what happens in the game. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen in the show,
right?
But this is a pretty close. Faithful rendition of the game. So I'm like, I don't want to say too much because it probably could happen. So,
can I ask you a question?
What's up?
What's your prediction of how many seasons this would last? If it were to remain faithful to the game, looking at the pacing we're at right now, what do you think? 3, maybe 4?
because I imagine they did, like we said, they probably at least tried to get all of the first game into one season. Because again, you never know. As we saw with Firefly, you get what you get one season. But at least it's like if we did anything, we at least did that, right? So if we do season 2, I assume we're doing the second game. You could maybe spread that out to maybe 3 seasons, but also if there is going to be, now that this is going to be like, this is now like the next big thing, and if there's a third game that comes out, they could stretch this out a little bit, and then now you have another game and then another season or 2 after that. So
yeah, this could revitalize the demand for a third game. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that might give them the. I mean, now it's kind of like, well, now what's really your reason not to? I mean, I'm kind of. Everyone knows that I have a distaste for the second game. Well,
a lot of people do, is my understanding. A lot of people were pissed off by what happened in the second game. I don't necessarily understand what happened, but I think I do a little bit. And they're like, "What the fuck did you do?" That kind of thing.
I knew in the beginning, I was like, that makes sense. Consequences for your actions. Shit. So, and then you play, and that's what I wonder, because that takes a few years down the road. Like Ellie's in her early 20s at that point, and I'm like, I don't know if you're going to try and make this girl look like she's in her early 20s now, or what you're going to do.
Well, look what they just did with House of the Dragon. I mean, they were jumping 6 months to 10 years per episode, and completely recasting the main characters.
I would hate for him to recast her, though. That's the thing. The only thing I thought that they did in Walking Dead was like they still had the same character of Enid. When you first see her, she's got like the real long, like straightened hair, and the way she dresses, she looks like a teenager. And then they jump ahead like 7 years, and they give her like a little shorter, kind of more mature haircut, and they dress her a little differently. I'm like, okay, I can believe she's older. And Ellie does have a different haircut. She's got like a real short, kind of like to her shoulders, and it's pulled back in like a little ponytail or a little bun. So, and she does wear. I'm not gonna spoil it, but no, the second half of the game, I'm just that's where I'm mad, maybe for different reasons. Some people can't handle woke stuff. I'm like, there was nothing in that really seemed crammed down my throat, or like that you didn't already know. Like, did you know Ellie was gay? Yes, no shit. That was in the game, in 2013. I don't know, but
it could be. I mean, what is she, 19 or 20, playing a 14-year-old? I mean, you could mature her up a little bit and make her play her age. Make her look less kiddish, and play a young adult. That would be okay.
Yeah, she's got a young face, but you could do some things with hair and makeup, wardrobe. You could definitely age her up, make her look a little. Because I mean, even in the game, Ellie looks like she's been through even some more shit to that point. But now I think I'm trying to not let the second game sour me too much, because if I'm like, all right, fine, if we get a third game, and now. Because now this is the whole story, and I'm like, I hated the entire last half of this, second half here. I'm like, what was that? Because we still got there in the end the same way. I don't know why you made me go through all that again. But I'm like, okay, but now this is the story. I'm like, oh, now I can kind of see where it was going, and now I can appreciate how we all got here. Well, I don't know. It would kind of seem like there's not really any reason not to do it now that you still have the same minds behind the game and the show. It's still Neil Druckmann, so. Yeah, I can't complain. I can't complain too much, because it's all the same people. So I want to see this thing get fleshed out. 10 damn years I waited. Sitting on this is my favorite game, and I'm like, ooh, I get a show too? Woo! It's Christmas.
Tech says something along the lines of what you talked about. He says, considering the backlash from fans of the second game and how popular Pedro Pascal is, it would be smart for The Last of Us to go the way of Walking Dead and go a different way. I actually disagree with that. I think that because the execution, was the story the problem, or was it the execution? Because you're going to execute it differently on camera than you were in the game. And if you stray too far from the source material, you're going to end up pissing off ultimately the most fan base you have, and that's the fan base of the game. If you turn off the fans of the game, the ratings may end up tanking. I mean, is that something you guys want to do? I mean, do you think they should do that the second season? Go ahead, Jeremy.
I know what he's talking about, and I mean, if I don't have to say it, I mean, it's pretty obvious what's probably going to happen, maybe or maybe not, for legal reasons. I didn't say it. consequences of your actions. But to that point, I mean, is Bella Ramsey not also as much of a star as Pedro Pascal is? Because obviously, I'm going to say in the second game, you play as Ellie a lot more than you do Joel. So it's kind of still more her story.
I would say she's not, though. Not at this point. I mean, we know her from Game of Thrones.
At that point, yes, not now. Yeah. It's no. Once we get to the end there, so that's what I mean. Then you jump ahead, and it's like, oh, now we're playing as Ellie. I can't without spoiling. I'm like, well, we haven't seen, like you said about with Walking Dead. It's like it's not just. Well, it kind of was at first, kind of place to place, but then they settled somewhere finally.
Right.
Well, they settled somewhere, and then really settled somewhere. The prison was done dirty. Damn it! I said it. It was the best part of the show. But then they got Alexandria, and then they finally just said, okay, this is it. We're staying here. We're going to make this the best place we can have.
Was the governor before the prison?
That was during the prison, yeah.
It was during the prison? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a while. I have the first 3 episodes, but first 3 seasons, but that's about it.
I've always said seasons 3 through 5 is like the best. That's the peak of the show. That's the best part. The prison was season 3 and then half of season 4. But I'm saying, seeing Rick what he did in episode 5, season 5, that was, I wouldn't be messing with him either. But in the oh hell, in the way of Walking Dead, I was going to mention that Kathleen kind of seems like the governor in a way where she's just tunnel visioned into this one goal that just. You start compromising other things stupidly out of just like, why does he want this prison so damn bad? And why is he going through all these lengths and hoops to just get this prison from these people that he doesn't know? And that's kind of where I was getting this Kathleen character. I'm assuming she's trying to figure out what happened to her brother, who she thinks Henry's responsible for. And she's just she's willing to just shoot the doctor in the face, who I hope isn't the only doctor in this whole town. It
wouldn't surprise me.
He might be, because I was thinking, there's a Walking Dead beat. Don't be a voice of reason. Don't be a doctor, and do not be a horse, because you'll die. I don't know. Damn it! I'm saying there's a cool thing.
I know what you're talking about. I don't know if Frank does. That's why.
I'm just saying, Tommy. Okay, in the game, Tommy has a cool setup, and it's kind of ingenious. That I'm like, oh damn, I would have never would have thought of that. Holy crap! I hope we see it fleshed out, like what you do in the game. So that's kind of, think of it that way. That's kind of your Alexandria. Like there will be here's where we're gonna be, and for a bit, and then here where we're gonna try and live. And second game, you can do it differently in the show. You're not playing as these characters, really. You're watching the things play out. That might translate better than you're going to play as this person. Now you're going to stop, rewind, and then play as this person that you definitely totally care about and play through the whole game again. But I digress. It was.
He is obviously very passionate about this.
Yes.
Look, I'm just saying it. I don't know. I'm hoping if there is I'm assuming now there would be no reason not to make a third game. Bounce back, please. Like a little bit. Even if you put the character, I'm not going to.
We talked about this the other day. I think they're developing the third game. It's supposed to come out sometime in the next half.
I would hope so. Given where it left off, I'm like, okay. Oh crap! That's how we're going to end this. Well, shit.
Yeah, I think the ratings are strong enough. I think you're going to get a lot of newbies who are going to play the game for the first time. I'm sure it's probably very popular right now. It's seeing a resurgence. So, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, but I don't know. There's going to be plenty more to talk about this series as we move forward. Again, we are just we're just shy of the halfway point. After the next episode, we'll be just past the halfway point because there's an odd number of episodes. But episode 5 is certainly. I have a feeling the next 5 episodes are going to come hard and fast. I mean, like I said, I feel like this was that one episode that kind of puts the pieces in place for the final push towards the end game of this season, not the whole series, of course, but this season. And of course, we have season 2 coming. But I want to thank my amazing co-host for coming to hang out with me tonight. I very appreciate it. Starting with the American Werewolf in New Jersey. Where can the folks at home find you, my friend?
Where can they find me? YouTube, American Werewolf. You'll see me there. Live streams, some pre-recorded content, a lot of good stuff that way, talking about a lot of movies that you usually don't hear a lot of other horror creators talk about. So yeah, there I am on YouTube. Most of the other social media networks, Twitter, Facebook, IG, that sort of thing.
The link to his channel is in the description of this video. I will also, as soon as we're done here, I will put him in there to my regular description that I have pre-typed up. So he will be in all of them moving forward. I actually thought he was in there already. I had to go look to make sure, and he wasn't. But his link is down there near the top of the description. So go check out his channel. We want to grow him and all the rest of these great movie creators that are kind of in this small little bubble of movie YouTubers like Gory B Movie and Night Watch and all those guys. Those are all really great guys to watch really great folks to watch when I talk about movies. And also, it's my good friend, my mate Jeremy. What do you got going on, sir?
Well, obviously, like Frank said, I'm pretty passionate about this IP, this series. So I'll be here on this channel talking about it Tuesdays, Mondays, whenever it comes out. So we've got we got a review for every episode so far, and I'm fairly certain we're going to continue with this as it goes on. I'm also here on Thursdays, same show, which is just kind of our general, talking about entertainment and all the news that goes on with that. And I wish people would stop texting me right now. I shouldn't say that. That's my mom. I love you. I promise.
She might still be in the chat. Hi, BJ.
I think so, because she was saying like what happened. I think something might have happened. Might have lost it for a second. I can keep rambling. I can keep rambling all day. So I'm on here. I've got I'll filibuster this whole show. Then he'll cut me off. So suddenly I go blank and he mutes me and then I'm kicked out. I lose my wrench, but I'm not Casey bad. So yeah, you got to give me that.
Hey, can I talk about something for the channel real quick?
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Thanks. Tomorrow, because part of what you said kind of got broken up, so I missed part of the question. Tomorrow at 8 p.m., I'll be live on American Werewolf, and we'll be looking at Ari Aster's sophomore hit or sophomore attempt, sophomore film, Midsommar. So that's going to be interesting. We're going to have a big panel for that one. So 8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. It was the second viewing for me, first time in probably about 3 or 4 years. So I've got there's a lot to unpack in that flick.
That's a wild movie.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Especially coming off of Hereditary. It wasn't what you thought it was going to be, but you're looking at it and you're like, "Fuck this movie." But also, we're also doing on American Werewolf a weekly review of this show, The Last of Us. So I'm working on that with the Goraphobe. So usually what we do, we immediately after the show drops on Sunday, we'll be in the live stream checking it out. I'm not sure what's going on with this week because I think they're dropping on Friday because of Super Bowl Sunday. Yeah. Every week we're also doing a live review of this show. It's just great to talk about. So yeah, that's us.
Yes, just a reminder for those of you who are watching the show on HBO Max, they are dropping this one on Friday, not Sunday, because Sunday is the Super Bowl and they don't want to run up against any split audiences. I personally don't think it would have mattered a whole lot. I mean, it's not like you can only watch it on Sundays, but whatever. So this episode's gonna be dropping on Friday at is it the usual time, 9 o'clock or something like that?
I think it might still be 9.
It's dropping sometime
probably.
Friday.
Yeah, probably.
It's dropping on Friday.
I wasn't done yet. Just saying.
Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
No, I wanted to mention things that I have absolutely nothing on. I also have my own YouTube, which has totally nothing on it. I had 2 episodes of The Last of Us I was playing, and then there was a lot of technical issues. So if you saw it, you saw it, and if you didn't, that's too damn bad because it's not there anymore. But I will regroup on that. It may have just been how I had the setup going. I think I can work out the bugs and just record it instead of trying to live stream it. And the janky way that I had to, go from the PlayStation to the thing to this to the, it's a whole mess. That's probably what caused it. So a recording might be a better idea. I'm going to play through the first game. I was going to try and do it before, but that was Halloween season, which, I work in a hunt. So didn't have enough time to do that, obviously. So I'll play it afterward. And it is fun to, people who have only seen the show, then it's like, okay, now you can see the game. And my own thoughts writing off the show now, you can compare and contrast. That'll be fun for me, to be honest. And like I said, I'll try to give the second game another chance. And I know when I hit that halfway point, I'm just going to be really mad. But that might be part of the fun. Just see me angry at a game. It'll be fun. I have Twitch, but I don't really do anything live. There are some games I could stream because some of them were streamy games. Some, like I said, like Last of Us, work better as like an episodic thing. So I've got a little list on my phone somewhere. So I'll work something out. I do have a weird idea to incorporate D&D into Skyrim. So that might happen. I have Twitter, which I say funny things every once in a while, and I haven't used Instagram since like 2018. So whatever.
Do people use Instagram?
I apparently don't.
Do people who aren't 12-year-old? Do people who aren't 12-year-olds or 25-year-old hot women who are influencers? Anybody other than them use Instagram anymore?
Oh well, I forgot. I'm sorry. Speaking of being 12, I have a TikTok, but I haven't used that in like 2-3 years either. So whatever.
Yeah, I ain't trying to TikTok. But as for me, you can find me here every Thursday. Yeah, me too. As for me, you can find me here every Thursday over all the news that's happening in the world of streaming television and movies. I would imagine it'll be Monday or Tuesday again before we get around to doing the next episode of The Last of Us. So come back and keep an eye out for that one. I'll make sure I get that stream put out there as soon as I figure out when it's going to be. I want to thank my amazing co-host, American Werewolf from New Jersey. Thank you so much, sir, for coming to hang out with us tonight. I very much appreciate it. Go check out his channel. He's got a lot of really great content. He actually did the breakdown of this episode just a couple hours ago before he jumped on here and hung out with us. So thank you very much. Go check out his channel. Thank you to my good friend Jeremy, my hetero life mate, for coming to hang out with us. We'll be back on Thursday to go over all the breaking news stories and